When the one with the rifle gets killed, the one who is following picks up the rifle and shoots.
Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Pick Up the Rifle and Shoot series, featuring my Daisy Legacy Bolt Action Rifle. Now honestly, how many of you knew that Daisy actually made firearms? When I discovered their Legacy series, I became completely enamored, obsessed even in owning one, particularly the model you see here. So that brings us to this episode. She wasn't planned to be next, especially since I just acquired her a couple of weeks ago. She was just a backup to take to the range, but when I finally got around to her, I was amazed, and I found myself shooting her more than the rifle that was going to be for this episode. It's funny how things work out, huh? So, here she is, my Daisy Legacy Model 2212 Bolt Action Rifle. The Daisy Legacy series was manufactured from the late 80s to the early 90s, and came in 3 different models. A single-shot bolt action, Model 2201 with a plastic stock, 2211 with the wood stock, the 10-round rotary magazine bolt action Model 2202 with a plastic stock, 2212 with the wood stock, which is my example highlighted in orange, and lastly the 7-round single stack magazine semi-automatic Model 2203 with the plastic stock, 2213 with the wood stock, all in the 22 rimfire caliber. Special thanks to Joe Murfin, the chairman of Daisy Airgun Museum in Rogers, Arkansas, for this information on Daisy's Legacy series. Be sure to also visit their website at daisymuseum.com, or better yet, go in person. Now, I'll go over in more detail, but first, let's make sure she's all clear. Here's an interesting side bit. Here you can see the rotary mag, which looks similar to Ruger's 1022, but they are not interchangeable. The 1022 mags are significantly larger and will require modification to fit. First up is the beautiful wood stock and butt plate, which is marked with Legacy by Daisy, which has the logo of a trapper with a raccoon hat. Next is the painted receiver, made of a zinc die-cast called Zamek, which is commonly used in Hot Wheels and other toys. Typically, cheaper 22 boys rifles are made with this pot metal, and they usually have no bearing on their functionality whatsoever. They usually suffer from cosmetic issues from paint flaking off, but otherwise, they're good to go. On the top left, you can see the serial number. On the right has the model designation and caliber, marked with 2202 instead of 2212. Unfortunately, Daisy didn't change the receiver model markings on their woodstock models, only on the box labels that they came in. And on the top of the receiver has dovetails to mount a scope. Now, for a surprise, the Legacy series were also takedown models, meaning you can remove the barrel using a supplied spanner wrench by Daisy. Here you can see the barrel nut is easily accessible, and the takedown process is actually quite simple. Very cool. Next up is the plastic rear sight, which is fully adjustable for windage and elevation, and it's actually very well made. I was even able to obtain zeros at 25 yards and 100 meters, with center mass holds. Very cool. The handguard is also wood, and it matches the stock perfectly. It even has a sling stud underneath. Moving along, the 19-inch steel barrel is completely shrouded in plastic, all the way up to the clean and crisp crown. The ramp front side is also plastic and is non-adjustable. Now, let's go flip her onto the other side. Here's another view of the beautiful wood stock. The length of pull is actually perfect for me, and is similar to my used stock Henry 22 and my Ithaca M49. Very pleasant to shoot. Next is the bolt, with its very unique curved inward handle, which feels a little awkward when grasping, but works well nonetheless. Now the action was very stiff and gritty in the beginning, but after shooting her extensively for this episode, her action smoothed out tremendously, and the parts that were painted black are now just bare metal. Very nice. Here's a closer view of the manufacturer's mark, and shows as Daisy Manufacturing Company Incorporated, Rogers, Arkansas, USA. Very nice. Moving along, the trigger itself has a very heavy pull and almost feels like a two-stage trigger. You can also see the crossbolt safety on the front of the trigger guard. Behind the trigger guard is the release button to remove the whole trigger assembly, allowing for the bolt to be removed. And lastly, you can see the magazine release catch. The magazine sits flush and unfortunately does not drop freely, and it must be pushed out through the ejection port. Overall, I'm very happy with my Daisy Legacy 2212 bolt action rifle with the wood stock, as very few do come up for sale compared to the standard plastic models. It's funny that I didn't intend for her to be the next rifle for this episode, but I'm actually glad that she is. Shooting her over the last couple of weeks has been a blast, and to my surprise, I found her to be very accurate, as you'll see. So with that, let's get on with the shooting. Off to the 25-yard range. I always shoot rifles new to me at 25 yards to make sure they function fine, and I'm able to group and eventually zero them. I found that CCI standard velocity shot very well with my Daisy Legacy, and had no issues or malfunctions. After I adjusted the rear sight to shoot center mass, point of aim, point of impact, I shot these 5 rounds to confirm my 25-yard zero. Let's see how it went. As you can see, all the rounds hit close enough to the center with no issues or malfunctions. Very cool. Now, let's see how she does at 100 meters. At the 100 meter range, unfortunately it started to rain, but I decided to carry on and just hope for the best. So I first shot her as is with my 25-yard zero, and her groups impacted about 8 to 10 inches below the bullseye. So I adjusted the elevation by sliding the rear sight closest to its highest position, and surprisingly, I was able to hit center of the target with a center mass hold. Very cool. I then shot these 10 rounds for confirmation. Let's see how it went. The target I'm using is a 12-inch circle shoot and see target from Big Dog Targets. The first circle is 4 inches in diameter, and the second circle is 8. As you can see, 8 rounds group well together with the exception of 2, and with that data, I can conclude my DayZ Legacy Model 2212 can at least do 3.3 MOA at 100 meters with the ammo that I'm using, CCI Standard Velocity 40 grain. Shooting 10 rounds gives me an honest measurement of my capability with the ammo that I'm using. I'll measure 8 out of 10 rounds, 80%, allowing 2 for shooter errors and flyers. Now I know she can do a whole lot better than 3.3 MOA, especially looking at that 7 round group, which measured 2.4 inches, which is 2.2 MOA, and mind you, all this in the rain. Now to me that's very impressive. What an awesome rifle. Now it's time for the RAM challenge. I set up a shooting gallery of 5 1/5 scale rams at 100 meters and challenged myself to knock them off with only 10 rounds. I am holding center mass, and thank God I was able to complete this challenge on the first try, as the rain started to come down heavy. Let's see how it went. I superimposed all the hits so you can see how the group looks like. It's about a 3-inch group at 100 meters, which is 2.75 MOA. Honestly, I was not expecting to complete this challenge in 6 rounds on the first try in heavy rain, but seeing is believing, and I'm very impressed how she performed. She's just as accurate as my other 22 rifles. Now, normally I would just end the episode at this point, but since she's a daisy, let's do what daisies do best, and that's plinking. So, I set up a shooting gallery of 5 bowling pins at 40 meters and challenged myself to knock them over with only 5 rounds in a standing position. And spoiler alert, I didn't have to try again. Let's see how it went. I do want to note I went back to my 25-yard zero and was holding center mass on the bowling pin. So, this challenge was completed on the first try, 5-round shot, 5 pins down. It was so much fun. And then I decided to see if I could get a strike, but I could only manage a spare. Let's see how it went. So there you have it, my Daisy Legacy Model 2212 bolt action rifle. Able to shoot for groups, clear the ram challenge, and knock down bowling pins with authority. I had so much fun shooting her for this episode, and the fact that she is a Daisy makes it all more special. It's a shame that Daisy does not make firearms anymore, as I believe they would probably do well in today's market, especially if it took 1022 mags. Well, perhaps maybe from Daisy is watching. I guess we just have to wait and see. Well, again as always, thanks for watching.